So I want to address the All Lives Matter people. I'm also going to give you a little Black history lesson too. In times like these, when things happen and you see things like Black Lives Matter, you also see the reply, well, all lives matter too. Listen, I don't like the name of the movement, Black Lives Matter, either. It's too vague. Okay, it's way too vague. One of my criticisms of our early civil rights movement in the 60s is it was too vague. We shall overcome. I'm more of a by any means necessary type of guy, and in this way, it's the same thing. We should be more direct. Instead of saying Black Lives Matter, we should say end police brutality, because the response to Black Lives Matter is a testament to how ingrained racism is in the DNA of America. See, the key of the movement Black Lives Matter is to end police brutality, which is beneficial to not only Black lives, but all lives. Here, I'll give you an example.
Up to a kneeling position. I said, keep your legs crossed. I didn't say to the conversation, keep your hair! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you, do you understand? And listen to my instructions. Don't talk, listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're gonna fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you, do you understand me? Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me! Don't go!
Man, long and the short of that story, someone had reported that there was a rifle in Mr. Shaver's hotel room and they could see it from the window. Turns out it was a pellet gun. The cops came, you saw the video, Mr. Shaver's dead. The great thing about Wikipedia is that it will direct you to other articles. And when you go to Mr. Shaver's article, I'm like, I wonder if it'll direct me to other stories like this, and it did. For you All Lives Matter people, let's see. You have Daniel Shaver. You also have another person. Since we don't have to just do someone from America, we can do. I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Kirill Danyankin, who was a Kazakhstani national who was killed by the cops. When I say racism is in the DNA of America, I mean it's such that if you hear Black Lives Matter, you can't even go and ask, well, what does that mean? Well, we like to end police brutality against everyone, but specifically Black people. That benefits everybody. But racism is so ingrained in ourselves as Americans, Candace Owens, that we can't even look past that. We can't even look past the phrase Black Lives Matter and go to the meaning of the movement was to end police brutality. In America, degenerates who dress themselves up as members of the executive branch and use non-standard police tactics to kill citizens is a defecation of our Constitution. When our rights as Americans are defecated upon, it's up to the people to rise. Damon Felder. I hope I said your name right. Or wrong. But Isaiah, you said this was going to be a Black History video. It is going to be a Black History video, and I'll get to that in just a second. But I need to tell you a story first, okay? Something happened many years ago in a colonial town. This town was one of many towns in a colony of many colonies. The colonies and their empire weren't really seeing eye to eye. The colonists felt that the empire was waging unlawful taxes on them, so tensions were high. One evening, a disagreement between a local colonist and an empire soldier on post rose into a larger disagreement, rose into a protest. The other side would have called it a riot. Well, the soldiers started firing Lots of people died. But Isaiah, you said this is supposed to be a Black History video, and it is. It is. Other people that died was a longshoreman of African and Native descent. You know him as Crispus Attucks. That disagreement was the Boston Massacre. That town was the city of Boston. The colonies, you know, will later become the United States of America. Now, I'm not the first person to make that comparison between what's going on now to Crispus Attucks, the Boston Massacre, the American Revolution, eventually the United States of America. But we use that example in our history books. We teach that to our children as something that's to be glorified. So for you all lives matter people who love our country so much, you would do well to understand that if it can happen to George Floyd, Daniel Shaver, and Mr. Kirill, it sure can happen to you. I change your stance for your safety and the safety of your country.